Hello, my name is Mark E. Dunn, and here's yet another media summary for 6315 Christian Scriptures 3, a course taken at Houston Christian University. I'm going to be using bullet point number 3 of our lesson plan. List and describe the various options for the identity of the suffering servant in Isaiah. Now, I know full well I will not be able to go into detail because we are talking about Jesus, Yahshua, the Messiah here. But I chose two articles outside of our selected coursework uh, in order to present, briefly a point from each, if that will suffice. The commission of the servant in Isaiah chapter 49, verses 1 through 13, by F. Dwayne Lindsay is the first article that I read. And this was a very interesting read. One of the main points that I picked up from this article is the servant reports his expanded mission to the Gentiles. That's found in Isaiah chapter 49 in verses 1 through 6. The servant announces to the nations his prenatal call by Yahweh or Jehovah. That's Isaiah 49 in chapter 49 in verse number 1. The servant introduces the announcement to his prenatal call by Yahweh with a summons to the nations. Listen to me, you islands. Hear this, you distant nations, for the servant speaks with absolute authority, commanding the world to listen. This can be none other than Jesus, who is the Christ. In Luke chapter 7 and verse number 45, then came the officers and the chief priests and Pharisees, and they said unto them, why have you not bought him? Verse 46, the officers answered, never a man spake like this man. So Jesus spoke with authority. And Matthew chapter 8 and verse number 27, but the men marveled, saying, what manner of man is this, that even the winds and the sea, they obey him? We remember when they were out on the sea and the storm came and the disciples were afraid, and Jesus said, peace, be still. And the winds and the waves obeyed him. And they said, what kind of man is this, that when he speaks, the winds and the waves, they obey him, they listen to him? He spoke with authority because he had permission from his parent. He had permission from the Father, which is in heaven. So he spoke with authority. Article number 2, Psalms 22 and the Servants of Isaiah by Michael A. Lyons, was another interesting read. And one main point that I took from this particular article was, number 1, the first part of the psalm consists of a complaint regarding apparent divine inactivity in the face of suffering. We see that in verses 2 through 22. And then number 2, this is abruptly replaced in the next section by a claim that God did answer and deliver, a celebration of this deliverance, and concluding shout of triumph. That's found in verses 23 through 27. And then third, we see the third section of the psalm is marked by a global perspective in which the I of the individual vanishes, and in which all the nations of the earth acknowledge Jehovah or Yahweh in verses 28 through 32. If you haven't noticed, I basically described the suffering servant. I just described Jesus because when he was on the cross, he says, Father, or my God, why have thou forsaken me? That is, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. Why have you forsaken me? But then before he drops his head and dies, he says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And he yielded, or he gave up the ghost. And because the suffering servant was obedient even unto death, we now have the gift of life and the chance to be reconciled back to God and to live with him forever in a place called heaven. Not only Isaiah and the Psalms speak of Jesus, but I believe everything that is mentioned in the Old Testament, everywhere you look, you can find something about Jesus, something about the suffering servant. God tolerated man. God made covenants with men to get us to the suffering servant. And when he finally arrived, the angel said, salvation has come to the earth. John said, behold the Lamb of God, which takes away the sins of the world. So these two articles, I agree with the writers in that these texts are foreshadowing the Christ and talking about the suffering servant, which was to come, who is the Messiah, the only begotten Son of God. Thank you for your time. May God bless you in all of your endeavors. Thank you.